Welcome to the Blackout Additional Rules video. This video will showcase some rules including how to build a force, how blast weapons work, as well as a few others. We are doing this in a live example video, as it sometimes seems like the best format to showcase some of these rules. Let's begin with how to build a force. Forces in Blackout are comprised of groups. Most games are comprised of one group. A group consists of a force card, Harlow for example for today, and 3 unit cards. 1, 2, 3. This would be one group, oftentimes the matched play standard. Let's cover what is included in a unit. Here's a unit card right here, and we have a number on the front of the unit card. 1. That means we have one grunt model. So a grunt model is going to be kind of your standard guy in the unit. He'll use all the information that's present on the front of the card and at the top of the back of the card. On the back of the card, you will find the specialists. We have one specialist with a data spike. Let's find an appropriate model. Here, this guy's pointing. That works great. You'll have a specialist with a grenade launcher. This guy looks like he's got a grenade launcher. Perfect. So we have our one grunt, our one specialist with a data spike, and our one specialist with a grenade launcher. That'll make the 3 models present in the unit. You would then do this for all of the unit cards, and that would be your force to play with if you're using a one-group game. Alright, let's look at the armory next. It's tied into the force and is oftentimes confused with other game rules. So let's begin with the unit card. If you look at the top left of the unit card here, we have a yellow triangle. That's representative of the unit's combat loads. So this Harlow control team has one combat load. Each combat load represents a use from the force's armory. So if you look at the force card here, we have the armory in the bottom left. We have several weapons as well as the boost jump there, which allows a model to gain jump 4. Any grunt in the unit, so for example, we have this 3 model unit here with one grunt. This grunt can use any weapon or ability from the armory. So, for example, if he were to shoot a duster or a larger vehicle, his rifle's not going to do a lot. So instead, we can use like a high explosive launcher or a micro launcher or something from the armory here. As soon as you use any item or ability from the armory, you will mark that unit's combat load. A unit cannot use the armory if all of its combat loads are marked. This represents the grunts in the unit, despite having no special abilities on their card, still being able to use the right equipment at the right time. You just have to be thoughtful about when you're going to use it. Welcome to the blast weapon portion of the video. Now this is oftentimes a huge part of our frequently asked questions because players oftentimes assume the rules work differently based on previous game experiences and stuff like that. So this is very important to watch clearly as it's a different sequence from normal shooting, but it's still a shooting action. So let's dive right into it. Some weapons, like this grenade launcher, will list blast and then a number in parentheses. Now when they're used against dusters or vehicles, they operate like normal, applying their 2 damage. If you ever want to hit infantry with a blast weapon, you instead follow these next steps. Keep in mind, this is a blast 1 weapon. That'll come up next. So, let's say we have this guy here with a grenade launcher, and we want to shoot this guy with a grenade launcher. Now we announce we're making a shooting action, at which point enemies can react to us, because it is a shooting action. Next, instead of picking a target, because you cannot target infantry, you will place what's called a blast marker. This is a 25mm or 1 inch in diameter marker in the shooting model's line of sight. That means any part of it can be in its line of sight. You can't place it behind barricades or anything like that because he cannot see it. So let's instead place it right over here. After placing the marker, the model will make its shooting skill check. At this point, enemies returning fire will be rolling against the skill check because you're obviously returning fire against it. In this case, it's a simple skill check, 2 dice, that's it, which may be modified by the weapon. So we're going to roll these 2 dice, and the model has, in this case, a skill of 6 or higher. He got 1 success with an 8 and 1 failure with a 4, so we'll remove the 4. Now for each success, in this case 1, enemy models must make an armor check rolling that many dice. And the distance of the blast is that number in parentheses. So we have blast 1, all enemy infantry within 1 inch of that blast marker, like this guy here, must roll the number of successes. So we got 1 hit basically, he would then roll that 1 hit. He has an armor of 6 or higher, so he's okay. Now it would affect all infantry within 1 inch. Imagine shooting it, 1 hit, it explodes and inflicts 1 hit on everybody. This is very powerful because enemy units like golems or high armor units that would oftentimes roll 3 dice to protect themselves now only roll the number of dice you actually hit them with to represent shrapnel or random blast kind of explosive power hitting them. Finally, let's cover the jump special rule. This is arguably my favorite special rule as it allows you to fly around the battlefield. Some units like this Harlow Springbok, if you notice at the bottom of its card there, it says jump in parentheses 4. Anytime a model with the jump special rule makes a movement, it may instead jump. Now it may move the distance in parentheses, so 4 inches, for example here, horizontally and vertically. Imagine a 4-inch, basically square or cube around this model here that it may be placed into. So if we were to jump on top of this building, we would measure 4 inches like this, and then we already know that this building is less than 4 inches tall, so it could easily just jump up here. Now if you want to be a little gamey, or you agree with your opponent, it is technically placed within. So if you measure 4 inches out, just the edge of your base has to be within that 4 inches. Is it kind of gamey? Yes. But are you jumping around a robot at high speeds? And it's very cool? Also yes. Now the only limitation to the jump special rule is you may not be placed through terrain. So for example, if you're inside of the building and we had the roof on, you could not magically jump through the roof and to the outdoors. You could if you agreed with your opponent, because that is also arguably very cool, but it is a limitation for a reason in the game rules. So as a quick overview there, we have a jump 4 unit. Anytime it moves, it may go ahead and be placed 4 inches vertically and horizontally. Now it is a movement, so enemies may trigger Overwatch if your final position takes you further than half your movement. Springbok have a movement of 6 inches, so if we were to jump that full 4 inches, that is over half of our movement at 3 inches, we would then be shot at that end position. So be careful and don't go too jump happy.